Ahead and welcome everybody here. We're going to now, all of you are now going to know Hannah, right? So when I bother you at synagogue, you'll be like, oh yeah, I remember meeting her online. I'm Barbara Bauman. I'm the board president for CYJ Midwest. I am thrilled to be here today in a very large form here on my monitor. Thank you guys for taking the time to come today. I know everybody's very busy, really appreciate it. We want to spend tonight, welcoming Hannah and welcoming her to you. We did an extensive national search. We had an amazing search committee. We got interest from a lot of strong and really well qualified candidates. And I will say that the board unanimously voted to select Hannah as CYJ's current, newest camp director. She had her first official day in November, and I've had the pleasure of working with her ever since, seeing her in action as she gets acclimated to camp. And then, as I was just mentioning, I had the pleasure of meeting her in person the beginning of last week when we were at the Foundation for Jewish Camp Leaders Assembly. We spent 2 days together along with Rachel and Kevin. And I can tell you that Hannah is as amazing in person as she is on Zoom. Her presence amongst her peers, her thirst for learning, her knowledge about camp, her passion for camp already, really, it just stands out when you meet her, when you see her. I think by the end of the conference, she had already made so many connections with so many different cities for camp. It was unbelievable. And I would be surprised if she didn't know every single person at that conference by the end. I mean, Hannah is truly a connector, a relationship builder. She is just going to do an amazing job for camp. And I think she's going to represent what we want, what we heard everybody say. We did a survey, as you guys know, Jessica Morris, who's on here, headed up a survey for us as we were doing this process. And what we heard back from alumni especially was that people want CYJ to build on the values we already have: pluralism, Zionism, tight-knit camp community, a family each summer for our kids, while we bring in new campers. We provide innovative, safe space in Wapaka. Hannah, I know, has the skills and experience to do this, and I have no doubt that she will make every day a special day at CYJ. Hannah, welcome.
Thanks so much, Barbara. And it was wonderful to get to spend a few days with you right at the beginning of my tenure. I started November 14th, and then the beginning of December, we had this leaders assembly where we got a lot of content and ideas for camp, and we had an opportunity to talk about that together with Rachel and Kevin, who are both here. So I wanted to start by asking all of you if you could pick one word to describe CYJ Midwest. What would that one word be? And just think about it for a moment. And we're going to do something called like a chat waterfall. So when I say, chat, just put your word in the chat and we'll sort of watch all of the words come out at once. Everyone have their word? Okay, CYJ Midwest, write it down in the chat. Beautiful, thank you. So memories, family, friends, life-changing, family, friends, home, welcoming, Wisconsin, nurturing, friends, friendships, summers, friends. It's really beautiful how many connections people have made throughout camp, community, memories, second home. Oh, marriage. Not one of the stated goals of camp, but very joyous when it happens. Thanks, everybody. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about my background. This is my, oh, Jessica's changing hers to parents. I love it. So this is my blended family. there's my husband gets to be in both pictures. Those are my stepchildren, Tennessee, who's 23, and Ruth, who's 20. Tennessee is a bike mechanic and he's joining the Navy, and Ruth is in art school in Philadelphia. And then in the picture on the left, you can see I have a 14-year-old Matan. This is Matan's bar mitzvah, so it's a year ago. And then I have an 11-year-old Yael, and she has spent 2 amazing summers at CYJ Midwest, experiencing all of those things, friends, community, a life-changing experience that you just wrote in the chat, and she has a lot more to look forward to. And then my parents, Roberta and Ira, and my dad is a cantor, a retired cantor. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. So Jewish camp is very important to me. I started Jewish camping in 1988 at Camp Louise. I grew up on the East Coast in Maryland. So when people tell you they're from Maryland, a lot of times they've been to Camp Louise or Camp Erie. This is my first summer at Camp Moshava, which is a Habonim Dror camp. If you can, I don't know if you can see in the photo, I always look the same to myself, but yeah, see, okay, Jonathan's wife went to Camp Louise. I figured there's got to be one in the crowd at least. So I'm in the middle in the tie-dye outfit there. And so, you know, Jessica, I'm telling you, it's like a phenomenon in Maryland. You know, camp was really, it was very influential on me. You know, even though my dad was a cantor and my family did a lot of Jewish things together, I would say that camp was the part of my life that most shaped my Jewish identity. It was really where I felt I could be the best version of myself. And, you know, like all of you, I formed my deepest connection to others at camp. And so, you know, it was really something that I looked forward to every year. And it's funny, my son also goes to Jewish overnight camp. And at the end of his camp experience last year, he comes home and he says, well, I just had the best month of my year and I have to wait a whole nother year to have that experience again. And I know that that resonates for everybody on this call. Next slide. Okay, so I did not grow up in young Judea. I grew up in a different Zionist youth movement called Habonim Dror. It's a secular Zionist movement. So there's not a lot of, there's creative Judaism in camp. And then in both Habonim Dror and Young Judea, as kids get older, there are Israel experiences that are part of the youth movement. So in Habonim Dror, there's a year in Israel after high school called Workshop. And then in Young Judea, probably some of you went on Year Course, which is the year in Israel. This is me on my workshop, the one in the red tank top. And I was on a kibbutz called Grofit, which is in the Arava. And it's right down the road from Kibbutz Keturah, which is a Young Judea kibbutz. And we actually used to meet the Young Judeans in the middle of the night. We would each walk like 20 minutes and we would meet in between the two kibbutzim together. So I had some crossover with Young Judea there, and then a little bit, oh yeah, you could play tennis on Grofit. So yep, and it has to be worth the hike up the hill. Grofit's like on a mountaintop, really, in the middle of nowhere. And then later on, I led a Machon trip for Young Judea, and I had a lot of fun during the summer talking about the differences between Habonim Dror and Young Judea. And actually, there were a lot more similarities than differences. But, what I love about movement camps is that it connects people not just to your camp, but also to other camps, throughout the country, throughout the world. And it brings home this idea of Klal Yisrael, of Jewish unity, that Jews are not only connected to each other through the generations, but also throughout each generation. And what I love about Young Judea is that as pluralist Jews, it connects different kinds of Jews together in Jewish community, which I think accurately reflects real life. this idea of connecting and building relationships across difference, respecting people who are different than we are, and learning about people's differences with a sense of curiosity are all very important to me. Next slide. Okay, yes. So I'm actually an embodiment of pluralism myself. This is me. I'm a rabbi. I went to the Jewish Theological Seminary, which is a conservative rabbinical school. Yet I grew up in Habonim Dror, a secular youth movement. And this year, I'm actually sort of switching and becoming officially a Reform rabbi. And then I have a lot of relatives who are Orthodox. So, even in my own family, we have all different kinds of Judaism, and we're sort of a pluralist Jewish family. But, my path to the rabbinate was really inspired by the time I spent at summer camp. I felt like being a rabbi, I would be able to take the skills and activities that I loved from camp and bring them into my professional life. So, so far, here's what I've heard about CYJ Midwest. Of course, how much CYJ Midwest means to people, that it's a tight-knit, caring, and inclusive community, and inclusivity is very important to me. I've done that work pretty much for like the last 20-something years of my career in different ways. That it's a pluralist with regards to Judaism and also perspectives on Israel, while still maintaining a love for both, is also very important to me. It's social justice oriented. And I'm excited to do more of that work this summer, especially as we're able to get out of camp a little bit more. And then, of course, there's lots of Israeli dancing. And, Young Judea has a reputation among all the camps that it's like the Israeli dancing movement. And last week I was at a Havdalah with some of our rising staff and like high school or young adults in our community, and we did Havdalah together. And then after Havdalah, everyone broke out into Israeli dance. And I was super excited. I learned a couple new dances, and I can't wait to learn many more new dances this summer. I want to talk a little bit about my priorities for summer of 2023. First of all, I hope that our camp, our staff, our campers, everybody is going to have an amazing summer, that we're going to grow our Jewish identities together, that we're going to grow our relationship with Israel together, whatever that relationship may be. I mentioned I want to get out and do more tikkun olam, more social justice in the larger community. I am actually connected to the larger community because I have a small part-time job as the rabbi in Appleton, which I will not do during the summer, but I know a lot of places that we're able to plug in locally. I'm very outdoorsy. And so I hope that we're going to really use our amazing 80-acre site. I was just blown away by the site of the camp. And, that we do biking and hiking, and making sure that we're really utilizing the whole property. Of course, having camping trips, and really spending time in nature. I hope that we have more empowerment of staff to plan and lead experiential education for campers. That's actually one of the areas of similarities of Habonim Dror and Young Judea. And I know that both movements have moved away from that a little bit, because sometimes intense educational experiences, people are concerned that that's like a turnoff for kids and staff, but I actually think that it's an opportunity for empowerment. And, when given the right tools, I think it could be really meaningful to both, and grow relationships between staff and campers, and staff and each other, and campers and each other. With regards to recruitment, in the longer term, I'm looking to recruit from more small Jewish communities. Being a rabbi of a small Jewish community, and actually this is the second time I'm a rabbi of a small Jewish community. I was also the rabbi in rural Maryland, And I know what a difference it makes for kids from smaller Jewish communities to go to Jewish summer camp. When I'm working with a kid for B mitzvah who goes to camp versus doesn't go to Jewish summer camp, it's really a world of difference. And I think there's a lot of opportunity there. And this is, of course, in addition to, our important Jewish hubs like Chicago and Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Bay Area, Detroit. I want more campers coming from Milwaukee. We did already sign one up, and I know there are a lot of friends in that group. So, just really looking to expand our recruitment. And you all are part of our recruitment. So please send potential families our way. We'll call them, we'll chat with them. We won't pressure them. We'll just get to know them. We'll tell them about our amazing camp. And, if it's the right fit, then they'll come and, the rest is history. They'll be tremendously impacted for the rest of their lives. I'm going to be on the road in the next couple months. So hopefully I'll see a lot of you in your communities. But I'm also happy to travel some more, especially next year when I have a less compressed year, when I start, when I don't start in November. So I'm looking forward to seeing all of you in person as well as on Zoom. And thanks.
I think now we have time for questions, right? Yes, we're at that point in our evening. All right, questions. I could just ask her questions for weeks and days, but I will have my opportunity. So let me open it up to you. I know a lot of you are as talkative as I am. What questions, comments, suggestions, advice? What do you have? You can unmute, raise your hand, shout it out, whatever you'd like.
Why is everyone so shy today? Okay, tonight, come on. I don't have any questions. I just wanted to welcome you, Hannah. Welcome to the CYJ family. We're excited and glad that Jessica could be a part of this all. So thank you, Barbara, for engaging our eldest. And so hope to meet you in person soon in Pittsburgh. So welcome.
Yes, just one of several mother-daughter dyads we have here tonight. It's very nice. I really appreciate it. I know, Elaine, did you want to say something?
Sure, I'll say hi. I'm another one of those mother-daughter grandmother. We got 3 generations. So I'm Elaine. Gail Cohen is my mother, and my daughter and Gail's granddaughter, Melanie Silver, will be working at camp this summer. And I know she's super, super excited to be coming back. And, as a camper, when camp was in Michigan, like, of course, I love this legacy and generational thing that happens with camp. And it's really important to me. And I love what you were talking about as your priorities, that's going to be happening at our camp and happening again for some of the stuff that hasn't been happening. It gives me great joy. So thank you and welcome. And I'm sorry, I see you'll be in Deerfield tomorrow, which is where I am, but I have a whole night of Hadassah meetings, so not available.
Thank you, Elaine. And I have lunch with Melanie in a couple weeks. So, I would love for you to join our lunch. I'll let you guys discuss it.
I'm guessing she will not invite me.
We'll have another lunch.
Greta, I see you raising your hands. I don't know if you want to have lunch with Melanie or you're asking a question, but.
Sure. I would love to always have lunch with Melanie, but first of all, I'm Greta Rothschild, and I think, we'll talk about when we can get together. I am also a past CYJ Midwest board president way back when, and but very involved in Hadassah. I'm the media past president of Chicago North Shore, and I was just wanted to ask you, Hannah, about strengthening this partnership, this relationship with Hadassah, and what your vision is for that going forward, especially, in our, catchment area, Great Plains, Chicago North Shore, Greater Detroit. So, yeah.
Thank you for your question. And I'm actually very interested in your input on this. So, maybe we'll discuss it when we get together. I'm very open and actually, I don't know if you've met Lauren Berger yet, but she's a Milwaukee friend of mine, and we're both from Baltimore, and we both went to Camp Louise. But she works for Hadassah. And so, I think just, Jewish professional wise, I feel very close to Hadassah, but I want to talk about, I'd love to talk about how we can strengthen our relationship more.
Great, wonderful.
Yeah.
Look forward to that. And and then I'm also for Hadassah, I am also going to be the incoming National Young Judea Chair. So I will bring that Midwest representation to Hadassah, but also would love to talk more about this partnership that we have and be able to bridge that gap between Hadassah and CYJ Midwest, so as well as Young Judea Global. So look forward to continuing the conversation.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that up.
Congratulations too, Greta. That's wonderful. And Hannah, just, a lot of people on this call are lifelong members of Hadassah and lots of past presidents of different size, chapters, regions, groups, everything going on here.
Yes, and I even had some of my fellow Chanichot on this call as well.
I think
I'm so
Yael
proud.
has a question. Yael, are you there?
Yeah, thank you. Hi, we're a newer family and a family whose camp experience was very disrupted by COVID, and that our eldest is 14 and our youngest, probably who's now 11, probably would have started sooner, but this past summer was his first. And just until a walk home from shul together this past Shabbat, I wasn't sure that we were even going to consider registering him. And my question is around kind of the longer impacts of COVID and more around like our well-being. I work in education, and when I walk into a room, my baseline assumption is that no one in the room is okay, that we're just on a different point on the continuum of not okay. And I'm just wondering, as we're as the kind of the years go by, like how you're thinking about that in terms of staff and like young staff who like not had a typical development, and campers who might be showing up in all different kinds of ways.
Yeah, I appreciate the question, and I also appreciate where you are family-wise, because I mentioned I have a 14-year-old and an 11-year-old, and yes, my 14-year-old started at a totally different camp and had a pandemic disruption, and now goes to a camp closer to home. And so we're really lucky. We have a grant, a Yedid Nefesh grant through the Foundation for Jewish Camp, where we are able to have a qualified mental health professional at camp all summer long. And actually, I'm working my connections just like in the local Fox Valley area, because I have 2 therapists in my congregation, and I'm trying to make sure that we have the best professional at camp. And I agree completely. I think and I have 2 young adult stepchildren, and the reason my stepdaughter wasn't in the bar mitzvah picture is because she had a little pandemic break from one college and ended up at art school. So I know that it's affected, young people of many ages. And it's really important that we'll have someone there all summer who can be there for both our campers and our staff. Because this has impacted people in a lot of different ways, and it shows up, and it sometimes shows up even in ways that are less expected, and we need to be prepared.
Thank you. And yeah, as a child psychologist and a mom, I really appreciate that question and your assumptions when you walk into a room as well. Do we have time for one last question or comment? Is there anything else anyone would like to say or ask? All right, then let me have a few last words. I want to remind everybody what Kevin just put in the chat, that our 50-ish celebration, which was going to be our 50th in 2020, is now going to take place in 2023. April 23rd. We would love to see all of you in Chicago, parents, adult camper, alumni, staff. It'll be 18 and over, but we will have stuff for families the day before probably. So it'll be a whole weekend full of fun. And we're going to be getting a lot of information out there. And if you want more information, you can always email camp. Email Hannah directly. Again, I just want to say thank you to everybody. I really appreciate all of your dedication to camp, your support of camp, and now your support of Hannah, which I know will be tremendous. Hannah, thank you for everything you've done and everything you're going to do. And I hope everyone have a good week ahead. Take care.
Thanks.